Okay, there we are. Another day, another video. Or exactly, it is actually another night. It is. I'm in a studio. It is Sunday morning, 5 in the morning actually, and I've been thinking about some things, and I thought I might want to talk about it. And the question is that I'm gonna talk about is, do making art make us into better people on the personal level? On the grand level, probably. But as we have seen before in history, that great cultures with great art have fallen into total mayhem and catastrophe. So it's not an antidote for like communism or Nazism or extreme ideology like the early Christianity and Islam and stuff like that. So art is not really antidote against that. I think that is quite overrated actually. I think science has done way more. Science has done way more for creating a good society, a humanist society, than the arts. Now, they used to be the same because you have something called natural philosophy that used to be the mix between science and art and the aesthetics. Today it's more like put into different categories, which is sad really, because what shall I say? It removes the objective standard from the artist. I mean, art used to be like Leonardo da Vinci, and if you read Leonardo da Vinci, you will meet a person who is a humanist, which is creative in a scientific way, which is looking at the world pretty objectively. Basically, hundreds of years before they did that in Europe, they tried it out, of course, in classical culture and stuff like that. But I mean, if you, yeah, it's just beautiful. If you go back all the way back to the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epicurus, and all these people, high culture and people with high morals, and that was over 2,000 years ago. So I would say, well, if they could think like us or like the humanist back then it should actually not have been a problem for we avoiding all this mayhem. I mean, I looked at history, and in history is just mayhem. It is just, I mean, I've studied so much, so many things, and we are shocked about the gulags and the Auschwitz and these things. Of course we should be, but if you start to study deep history, it has been nothing but war, slaughter. It is basically slaughterhouse world from start to beginning. It's almost like when we transform from being pure animals without introspection into having introspection, we just kept on doing the same thing as the hyena. So, has there been a progression towards something better with hiccups? Yeah, but it doesn't take that much to destroy it. And we will see what happens. Maybe we succeed. Maybe we move towards a common goal for the whole of humanity and start acting accordingly. Now, by the way, before I say anything more, remember to hit that notification bell and a like button if you like my rants. I will make more of them. And leave a comment. Tell me what you think, and I will answer you. Well, okay, can making art make you into a better person on a personal level? Yes and no. The question is yes, but also no. Personally, I went to art school and I've seen the narcissistic artists. Teachers who were so arrogant, teachers who I met artists who was extremely arrogant, extremely narcissistic. And they can't take the bait, they get angry, they are not open. You know, art is supposed to make you open, but it seemed to me that in modern art, when you remove the objective standard, when you remove everything that can actually measure your work towards an objective standard, it leaves the door open for the extreme narcissist. And I have to say, being around in art galleries around the world and stuff like that, and I talk to artists and I will say, mostly, I don't think making art makes people better. But that is, of course, my personal opinion. I think it seems like, it almost like the art scene is attracting a lot of children that has had bad experiences in childhood. So it doesn't really fit in to the ordinary society. I remember when I was a welder, I actually had a quite good childhood. I have beautiful parents. There is so much love in my family that it kind of drips from the ceiling. I was a little bit pushed out. I felt a little bit alone for a while, and that set some scars, but in general I had a quite good childhood. But I noticed that in the art scene, it seems like it's a vacuum cleaner. It drags in a lot of damaged people. And when they get into the art environment as it is now, where you have no objective standard, there's nothing you can measure the quality of your artwork. It becomes all total relativism. And when it becomes total relativism, it is basically an open market for the strongest. It is basically back to survival of the fittest. If you can manipulate people around you, you will get the money, you will get the gallery, you will get the credibility. You don't have to create anything good. You don't have to do anything that is actually measures up to the greatness of Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci, and the classic arts, and when it really took you a hell of a lot of energy to create something beautiful. I think there are more, when people are working with more traditional arts, they are more sympathetic, I think. Not necessarily, but my experience anyway is that. For me, it was more like I had when I started out, I was young, I was naive, I couldn't draw, I couldn't anything. Luckily, I was kind of suffering from a Dunning-Kruger effect, and I couldn't see how bad it was. So I was kind of protected against seeing how bad it was. I had a little bit of narcissism there, I think, because I thought what I did was good. But but I do have in me the necessary openness, or I've been thought of my parents and people around me in childhood to basically be a good person. And I also come from a family which has their feet on the ground. We don't fly off, we don't fly off. I did it a little bit a few years ago because I started to earn a little bit too much money. and I thought that things were going to last forever, and I became again a little bit reckless with how I acted, and it cost me quite dearly actually. But it was a self-inflicted wound. But what making art did for me, and that was actually in the combination with taking in an enormous amount of information, both good and bad, and facing reality, facing the fact that I'm going to die, facing the fact that I probably don't have an afterlife, facing that every day that passes is one day less, facing reality, and then transforming this introspection into brushwork, becoming a realist at the same time as you keep that emotional thing that you just pushes into all the different brushwork as you go along, because brushwork is dancing, painting is dancing, painting is music, painting needs to do good work. Like you can actually see in Leonardo da Vinci's drawings that he probably was a sympathetic person. He did feel empathy, he did have the right kind of introspection. Of course, there have been a lot of artists in the world that has been total assholes. I mean, look at Picasso. He treated people like shit. He was not a good person. But I mean, I think, in my view, his art was suffering from it because he didn't never really connect in depth with what he was doing. It was always superficial. There was a story that he was sitting in a restaurant and he was just doing some thing back on a bill, and he delivered it, and they never took the money out of his bank because he was famous and he used it in a way. And it's not a, I mean, the sympathetic thing to do was actually to draw a drawing to the waitress and give it to her with a sign and thank you, and then also pay the bill. That would be the good thing to do, in my view anyway. But it's, I mean, Dali was the same thing. It was just the gold. There was a gold. He just wanted more money. He wanted fame. And you see this in artists today too. It's not really about the work. They are petty. They are narcissistic. I'm using that word a lot. They don't have their feet on the ground. So, and as I say in the beginning, the art scene, because of this relativism, gives room for the most vicious people, the most sociopathic people, maybe even psychopathic people, to shove actually people who are quite good at what they are doing, are really trying to do something good. They are able to shove these people away, and they are stealing all the attention. And you have of course, the art scene is full of vanity. It's a gigantic vanity project. Many of the customers are buying things because they want to show off. The gallerists want to bring in the things that makes the gallery look interesting for the other people who also are doing the vanity project, which is the media, which is the customers, which is all the other artists. Have you ever been to an art exhibition? Well, mostly, especially when it comes to the more conceptual art and stuff like that, most of the people there are the artists that is just there to talk the talk and walk the walk. And it's a serious problem. I think it's a serious problem. It's a problem for art, it's a problem for everyone who is actually trying to do good works. They really don't break through. And so in my view, the art scene is extremely cynical. And it doesn't really seem like doing art makes most artists not better, but actually gives them a way to become worse. It doesn't mean that is all of them, but I have to say that in the art scene you have a very harsh environment, and you're a very lucky person if you meet other artists who are really, really open-minded, really self-critical, really haven't flown off into this narcissistic heaven, and yeah, I think it is a rare thing. But when art has the right effect, when art actually, and I will say almost in combination with realism and science, when art actually do connect you with a deeper level, or the artistic process connect you with a deeper level, with deep introspection, where all these things comes together with empathy, with sympathy, with knowledge, with being humble, being give people a compliment, for heaven's sake, and mean it. Don't do it if you don't mean it, but be a person who wants to help other artists. Be a person who have objective standards that nail you to the ground, to the floor, yeah. That you can't fly off. You are going to Rembrandt when you paint, or any other famous painter in history, and you look at what he's doing. You go to Leonardo da Vinci and look at his beautiful drawings, and if you do that, you combine it with, I would say, study Stoicism, Stoic philosophy, as I said in the beginning. I will also recommend that you listen to Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules of Life, and his lectures. They are brilliant. They will really open your mind. He's actually basically repeating what Marcus Aurelius and Seneca and these Stoics are saying, but it's also put into a different context. He actually used the Bible, and he used Pinocchio, the movie, in his lectures, and it's really brilliant how he kind of, and I'm an atheist, so for me in the beginning, the Bible, what the hell, that book is horrible, you know, but he does it in such a way that you actually can connect with other things in your life. You can actually see how you should think to evolve. So I think that also when you do creative work, when you do painting, when you go into the deep flow, deep flow, and you find this depth inside you, it brings with it thinking. You are also evolving the brain. You are connecting more neurotransmitters. But it mustn't be the short burst kind of art. It has to be the kind of art that is difficult, that bring you deep into flow. I bought this book. It's called Artists. I did it just for fun. I was in New York and I think I bought it there. I don't remember. And I've been going through this book and I noticed something, that all the art in this book, they're just called Artists. I can go through this book over every page. It is the same thing. It is conceptual art. Every some guy who has some kind of junk. It's never really difficult. It's just a friend of mine called it kunst. It's called an idea. It's like idea art, not conceptual art, but idea art. Art that is just based on pure and simple idea, with absolutely no link to any classical art or any objective standard, which actually tells you what is good or bad. Why is this good? There's a lot of scripture on the wall. There's hung up some. Why is this better than the next thing or the thing after that? Why is it always? Why is it always? You know, this same thing here as it's the same tone, if you know what I mean. The conceptual art is the same tone. It's never about going deep, going into something that is really difficult. I just throw in a lot of stuff. I make up some basically noise, some rhetoric noise, and to justify it. And then I find this gallerist who is also struck by this vanity thing, and he picks it up and he finds some customer with a lot of money that has a big stake in being special, because if you have special kind of art, of course you can feel a little bit more special. And so it just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, give me a fucking break, okay? Same thing here. It's always this, it's almost a primal scream for attention. See me, see me, see me, see me, see me. And there is no real conversation. There is no... I mean, art today is more like a religion than anything that resembles something that pushes you as a person to the brink. And to become for art to make you a better person, to make art to make you a better person, you have to be willing to go to the brink. You have to go beyond your comfort zone on every level. You have to learn the science. You have to learn how to do your art technically. You have to learn to think. You have to be honest. You have to be an honest person, or try to be an honest person. Because the problem with being an honest person is if you're not an honest person, it's really hard for a person who's not honest to know that he's not honest. He might feel it a little bit, but he won't really know it. So it's probably the hardest project of all, knowing that you are an honest person. And when I will say something good about myself. For once, I don't often do. I am an honest person. I know I'm an honest person. My friends know I'm an honest person. I think people can see in my paintings that I'm an honest person. It doesn't mean that my paintings are that good or technically good yet, as I would like to become. But there is some, even I can see, there is some honesty in the struggle that I put into my work. And people actually tell me this. There is something honest about your work. And it's not about a motif. It's not about the onion or the girl I'm depicting. It is something with the rawness of it. You know, I never actually learned to paint from anyone. I learned from looking in books. I learned to think from science. I've seen the worst things, I've seen the best things, I've seen the darkness, I've seen the light. And as I say, as human beings, we are the most beautiful thing there is in the known universe, as we know of anyway. And we can be, on the other hand, the most ruthless animal in the whole animal kingdom. Amongst all the animals we know of. we are the most rootless one when we are becoming rootless. And that is because we know we are rootless. And that's what makes us different from the hyena and the chimpanzee and stuff like that. Now, so for art, creating art, to make you into a better person, it is not just enough to sit around and wiggle your pencil. You have to face your demons, you have to face yourself, you have to face reality, you have to basically lose everything so you can, through introspection and becoming humble, to then start building something new. And the artists that manage to do that, which is really hard, they can actually become better people while making art. I know this was a very long rant, and it's hard for me to pin it down in a way. I probably repeated myself 10 times. But if you have any comments, I would happy to answer them. This is my coffee, this is my lifeline. And keep it simple. Keep it safe. Like in Lord of the Rings, keep it simple, keep it safe. You know, less is more. Simply that, less is more. Or more of the things that are good and less of the things that are negative. So yeah, can art make you into a better person? Sometimes. But usually, I don't think so. And with this, I say cheers with my coffee, and maybe somebody think I'm making a little bit of sense. So, hope to see you in the next video. Leave a comment, go to my Patreon, support my work if you want to. I will answer all your questions there, and if you want me to teach you how to paint, you can go to Patreon and sign up for Patreon, and I will engage with you on a personal level. So, with this, see ya.